I'm Nate, and I'm going to give you a hands-on demonstration of our dungeon elevation system. There's a ton of cool vertical building possibilities with these pieces. Let's dive in and take a look. All right, first let's look at the pieces in the dungeon elevation family. So of course, any piece can be an elevation piece if you stack it or stack anything on top of it, but we're going to look at here, these are the dedicated dungeon elevation pieces that we have. So this is the vaulted elevation block. This is sort of the bread and butter of dungeon elevation. You can never have enough of these things. You can use them for everything. They're really, really helpful and fun to build with. So this is a 2x2 footprint. It has dungeon flagstone texture on the top that matches the dungeon floors. Dungeon stone on the side to match the walls. It has red vaulted pillars sculpted in there that match the vaulted pillars in the walls, but of course you can use it with anything. You can use them also standalone. You can use it with castles. It goes with anything. It is cast in dungeon gray. They do not have anchor magnets. Some of these pieces have anchor magnets because they are generally scatter built and will often be built on top of each other. We don't want the magnets to repel each other. The most important bit of this geometry is it is 38 millimeters high. That makes it the same height as 2 dais pieces, like that, or the height of 1 dungeon wall minus a floor. So if you put it on top of a piece, it'll line up with the wall. Or if you put a piece in front of it and then put a floor on top of it, everything lines up nicely. So everything is 38 millimeters except for a stair and pedestal over there. This is the vaulted elevation pillar. It's essentially a 1x1 version of the elevation block. So everything else is the same, but it does have a pull accessory hole in the top so you can accessorize it. So it makes a neat little, you can use it as pillars. In addition to building it as elevation, you can just use it as a pillar and you can use it to add some flavor into your builds if you want. This is the vaulted elevation arch. So it is 1x4, 4 inches long, makes it a nice span. The footprint, the bottoms here terminate at 1 inch, so you can take 2 of these pillars and make nice arches like that. This thing looks, and the curve there just looks nice. It gives a little elegance to any build. This is the ramp. Same thing, 1x4 footprint on the bottom, goes up to 38 millimeters high from nothing there, so you can ramp up to any of these other pieces. You can also put 2 of them together if you want to go up to like elevation block. I mean, any of this stuff you can build multiples together and the like. It's the ramp. Then we have the 2 pieces that are not 38 millimeters high. These are sort of an awkward 19 millimeters high. So this is the lower stair. It has a 1x2 footprint. It has a baked in 1x1 at the top. So it's a perfect little landing to put a mini on, playable space. And this is the pedestal, the 1x1 pedestal. It's essentially just the top of this without the stairs. And this thing is a neat little building block. You can use it in a bunch of places. So these are the height of the dais pieces. And it also means if you double stack them, then we're up to our 38 millimeters high. We go like that. So it's half the height of the rest of the elevation system, which then lets you add some variance there if you stack underneath and combine these to get up to the bits. So useful for some fiddly building. We have the epic stairs. So we have a right and a left. They're the same, except they're mirror images of each other. They go up to the 38 millimeters here. They have essentially a 4x4 footprint, but it's on a curve. And the best part about them is they have these big playable stairs, right? So you can put minis on there and they're just fun to build with. These things just look, as the name implies, big and grand and epic. Big fan of these stairs. They play really well together and you can use them alone and the like. All right, this is the dungeon bridge pedestal. So it works standalone. So it's a 2x4, so it's a pretty big piece. It has a nice span. It's great for doing elongated spans. And it has these really elegant curves down here. It plays really nicely with the elevation blocks. If you want to elevate up and make aqueducts or walkways and the like. And it pairs with the dungeon bridge. It's designed to extend the dungeon bridge. Speaking of which, this is the vaulted dungeon bridge. So it is 6 inches long and 4 inches wide at the base. It tapers down to 2 inches here, and it goes up to the 38 millimeters high at the end. So it's the same height as everything else. Added some holes on the end and 2 pieces of metal so that you can use a peg to connect it to the pedestal if you want. If you want to help it to support weight, if you're going to put some big minis on there or you have it set up for a while, it helps everything stay together. As well as you can put extensions from the castle bridge system on there. It also has pull accessory holes here so you can decorate it up if you want to add some decor, some snake heads or whatever to it. And lots of playable space in there. It fits right in. Fits in the dungeon, but it also fits anywhere, right? You can put this in a cavern, you can put it out in your city. Really neat. It works alone. You can put 2 of them together to make a short bridge. You can put the pedestal in there. You can extend it with pedestal. You can extend it with elevation block. Really neat piece and very satisfying to build with because it's nice, big, and beefy. All right, so those are the basic pieces. Let's go take a look at how they build. So first, let's start with some scatter building. Because what's neat about these elevation pieces is you can build them all by themselves. You can throw them on a battle mat, in this case on a terrain tray or a battle board or wherever. They don't need any other sculpted terrain. You can just throw them down. But before we actually start throwing them down, let's talk about why we build with elevation. So number one is it just looks cool, right? As soon as you start getting things vertical, it looks neat on the table. It's fun. Your players get excited. Like it's fundamentally like it's really, I love going up. Everything is just more exciting when you go up. The reason it's exciting, and this sort of drives the game purposes for going vertical, is you're adding danger to your thing. You're adding obstacles. Right now, as soon as you have this thing, now it's like, how do you get up here? Or if you're up here, how can I knock someone off? Or there's falling damage, there's line of sight, there's things to dive behind cover from. As soon as you have vertical pieces, there's a lot of interaction that can happen. There's a lot of movement shenanigans that can happen. So your scenes just get more dynamic. And people are now, players are now doing big leaps and people are getting thrown and everything just sort of ratchets up because it's either an obstacle or it's a hazard or it's something that you can let them use their movement skills, their interesting movement skills. So as you're building, be thinking about, hey, is this something that the players can exploit or the enemies can exploit? Is this a hazard? Is this an obstacle? Or does this just look really neat? So taking this dungeon floor terrain tray, you can take some of your pieces and you just start pushing around like you did like blocks as a kid, right? You can make anything that feels like it can be an old ruins very easily, right? By just starting to throw a few pieces down on a terrain tray. Right now, there's some interesting spots to place some minis, some interesting spots for ranged cover and the like. So let's say let's build like a little, Mike would take a bunch out, make a raised platform. Maybe this is an old, like an amphitheater or something. So you can take the bridge. We can just use the bridge, half the bridge piece and make a thing. This could be a site the players are investigating. We'll take 2 pillars, put some gargoyles on there and boom, do a thing like that. If you want to make it like a ruins-y ruins, you could take some elevation, because it doesn't take very many pieces. Take a couple of elevation pieces, take some of the dungeon ruins pieces, just throw those up against each other, and boom, we have a little thing. We'll take a couple of these blocks there, and then I take there. We can put the ledges around if you want to tie it in a little more, something like that. We could take these stairs, the stairs to nowhere. They some rubble on them, right? So you can have sort of a very quick and easy scatter encounter by just putting like these always look neat, doing this little arch thing, right? Throw some for that angle like that. Boom. Now we have an instant, or it could be a random encounter done in 1 minute, ready to go. Well, let's go up a little farther, right? Let's focus on our elevation bits and go further. So we're gonna get this out here. Let's go back to this platform. Boom. Let's put here. I want to get the stairs out there because they look really neat. Right, so we're coming up to this thing. Let's give a couple of places for somebody to hide, right? And now we have a little deck or something, and then let's go up one level higher. So we could put like this as a neat backdrop, right? If we're trying to make this look like an old stage, the old forum, to something like that. Maybe there's a portal through here, and the players have to do a stop a ritual or thing. We can make it a little more elaborate. We can put these up the sides. Boom, boom, and then now you got a couple of layers to get up to. You get a jump and climb, and go up one more higher, something like that. And then maybe while we're scanning below, let's put a point of interest. We'll take the dungeon pool, put that out there. Now it's like maybe it's a magic fountain, right? The old oracle pool that's been abandoned for ages. All right, so that's a really it's like, I don't know, less than 20 pieces. You have an instant encounter. So you can do lots of fun scatter bits with these pieces. And ultimately, you just stack them up and you'll end up with something that looks pretty neat. All right, let's up the danger by changing what's underneath them. All right, we have a little danger now. We're using the new green acid terrain tray here. So we're going to do sort of the same as we were just doing before, but now the floor is acid, right? There is danger here. So this is going to be inspired by, we made a really neat encounter for the Dungeon of Doom. It's a free download module on our website. We'll link it in the description below, called the Acid Bath, where it was a bunch of elevation bits on an acid terrain tray. It's really neat encounter. So kind of inspired by that, let's just play around with putting some, let's put some elevation on things. So this is going to do the same thing as before, right? We're breaking up line of sight. We're letting players go up, but now the stakes are higher because if you fall off, then you're not just going to take D6 falling damage, you're taking some acid in the face, and that's, nobody wants that, right? So I'm just sort of like just rebuilding out, like let's throwing pieces on here, kind of any which way, right? You can put you can just do a block of elevation blocks, something, and do a thing like that, right? You could say, right, you don't need to actually build walls from the outside. You could say this is a counter and players come in, there's walls all around. You know what we can do actually? Let's make it more exciting than a door. Let's go to the floor. We'll put a trap door with the sewer right there. Right? So the players can come in through the sewer grate into this den of acid here. So this is already kind of interesting, right? That we've got made a perimeter that you don't want to go in the middle. You kind of have to navigate around. Although it's a pretty big stretch, so it's more interesting. Like if we put a platform out there, so now you could have like a bad guy monologuing out here or whatever. What's neat is if you make stuff that is less than 30 feet, there's a lot of movement things. So like people can use their Misty Step or some ridiculous jumping, right? If you're striding and leaping, or you want to like give players ways to use their skills so they feel really cool if they can take the shortcut by teleporting across the thing or whatever. And then we'd want some sort of point of interest out here, right? Maybe we take the cryptic key pedestal, do something like that. Although this isn't super dangerous yet. I mean, it is because there's the big pit of lava. But if we force more movement around, maybe we can get even more dangerous. So let's do first things first. Let's knock these in. We're going to move. All right, so we're going to move these guys in. Now, like if you're on this narrow causeway here, let's pull this in. If there's a possibility of falling either side, like if we're assuming there's a wall here, is you got one safe side. If we push this thing out, now there's acid on either side. We'll push this one out. There's acid on either side. Your chances of falling double. And the chance of now the players can also pitch monsters into there or whatever. And then maybe we want to make another jumping opportunity, right? Or something. So we put let's put this out here. I love the way these look. And you know what we'll do? I'm going to put that up front and then put these here, right? So we could put our MacGuffin out here, and now players can do a leap. There's more chances to fall in the acid or throw somebody in the acid. it's more exciting. Although I do really like this sort of the drama of being on these narrow 5-foot walkways are, they're really dangerous. They're really fun. So let's put more walkways, right? So I'm going to take these 1x4 dungeon floors are so good for doing spans, right? Because you can then put them over here, and now you have yet another walkway. And we're going up a little higher too, right? 1 floor's height higher. So now we're 15 millimeters high. So that feels even more dangerous. Let's push this back. We aren't. So that looks pretty cool. And then we can let's do more, right? Let's keep going. Let's come out here. We can do reasons now there's reasons to jump, or you could put a couple of we could put a trail of these things out here or something. So there's other ways right now players could theoretically, you could be jumping. You want to give them, ideally there's multiple paths, right? Don't just railroad the players the other want to go. If you've got a couple of different paths, by putting some stuff out, some accessible jumpy areas or something, right? You could do that. It just lets you now have sort of interesting ways to kind of traverse the room. But of course you want to have destinations. So let's force them to go to these things, right? We put these are the riddle pillars from the Mystic Challenges. We could do that. So how the heck do they get there? So let's put a little walkway out there. So we're taking the pillar. I'm taking another pillar, put it right up against it. Let's put, and then putting a 1x4 floor on there. So now we have a narrow walkway to get out there. And once again, you could shortcut and do a jump from here, or throw the halfling over, or teleport, right? Use Misty Step. There's neat ways to get around. So we have a couple of destinations out here in the outside, these really treacherous, right? These really narrow 5-foot runs. And you've got 2 of them you have to interact with, right? So you can force a couple players to get out there. So everybody can't just sit back and let one person do it. Now you've got to get a couple of players out here. And then the other thing that's kind of weird is how these are, right? Some of the floors are raised and some of them down. So what we'll do is let's pave it out. We'll put a floor. Boom. I'm just putting floors here. So I guess, although you could also, if we wanted, we could put floors underneath, and we could raise this arch. We could do something like that. And then put floors up like such, or then we have a weird line and we put floors there. So let's just keep it simple. We'll just pave this bump. Now we have one little step up bump over and here. All right, so now we've leveled out this whole back area. We have a couple of things, and let's, for fun, because we're putting a floor in line here, we have license to put whatever we want. Let's put trapdoor floor here and use the little magic pool insert. So now there's a cool go for it. And we'll give them. We want to get everybody out of it. We don't want everybody standing here. So let's give them a bunch of things to interact with. So maybe somebody's got to do something here. 1 or 2 people have to do something here, and then we'll use the. These are all things from the Mystic Challenges pack. So let's just use a whole bunch of it. So we've got 2 cryptic key pedestals. So we can put these out here too. So now there's 5 points of interest that you have to interact with, forcing your players to come out here, and they're up high. You could have things like jumping out of the acid, or things trying to push them in the acid. But yeah, we have a pretty fun, right? There's a lot of elevation, a lot of danger, right? There's acid on all sides, and reasons to come out into the room, to actually face this challenge. You can't just do it alone. So that's how you can, the example of what you can do, just scatter building terrain. There's no wrong way to throw these pieces down. Kind of any blocks you put here are going to be interesting, exciting, with a nice plunge into acid. Let's go now build in some rooms, do some inline building. Okay, so now let's build with the elevation pieces in a build, right? So we have a 12 by 12 room here, just using our vaulted pieces, and let's bedazzle it a little. Let's zhuzh it up with some elevation bits. So the baseline, you can just, same thing we were doing outdoors, is you can just start throwing some elevation pieces in there to create a scene, right? So we could put, maybe if you want, we could put some points of interest on here. All right, now there's something to interact with in the room. There's some places to hide behind. Boom. So any of the stuff we were doing previously, you can do on top of the floors. Where it gets more interesting is when you're mixing stuff inline and top line. So we could, if we want, let's pull out floors here. Boom. And here we can drop these inline a little bit to change their height profile. Now they're kind of lower. We could put some stairs up. So now we have some like neat raised pedestals. You could put some statues, or put a point of interest or something. What you can do that always looks neat is like a big central thing, right? Let's put them here, and we could put a throne. Put a throne on, and if you want to go up higher, the floors back in, boom, up there. We'll put the bridge. It's a little tight for the door, so we'll slide back. So here's where things get spicy. If you want to build against the wall, you start running into, we've got the vaulted pillars kind of push it up a bunch off the wall. So what we could do is we could put regular floors in there, slide everything back, do that. Or if we want, we can just actually pull the walls out altogether and just put our, let's just put our elevation blocks right in line with the floors there, and then we can pop floors, need another floor. Or do something like that. And then you can, what's fun is you can kind of mix and match, right? If we have stuff in line, you have options to put different toppers on. So we could, for instance, put the magic orb up here. Let's turn that guy on. Group. Right, glowing orb, and then make that a thing. Maybe we'll put the stairs up like this. To get up to it, or bridge, or we could go out wider. Let's keep going. And now we'll just put these elevation blocks on top. Right, those other ones behind. These are on top. Everything lines up nice and clean. And then from here, let's put the epic stairs in there. Big them to either to explore, or we could do. Looks neat if you just do a singular one and do something like that. Right, now this is an interesting room to have a comment on. There's like a lower area, there's an upper area, there's some MacGuffin to interact with. We can break it up further using the pillars. Maybe we want to put, let's make this more magical-y, right? So we can take the, so we got the raven orbs, those on there. Maybe we'll take the ravens out, just use the spheres. Now we have some interesting stuff to break up the room, as well as a little bit of elevation. Once again, not a ton of pieces to give ourselves a scene. If we want to do something different on the back, another thing that always looks good is taking, these are built inline, we're taking the grand vaulted arch there and putting that on top of two elevation blocks. And now it's like super grand. You have this big pedestal, and that's once in another spot to put a MacGuffin, something, right? You could put like some magic cool on there, do something like that. And put your treasure up there. And we can extend this platform out. Like you could just freely put your bits wherever you want, and it's going to look neat as soon as you put anything up. If you want to really wrap around a scene, like something fun we could do is like, let's put this. We're going to take this out, put a cool floor in. It looks really cool when you kind of work around. It draws your eye to a central point of interest, wrap around, or we could get even tighter with the stairs to the central thing. Something like that. Boom, boom. And if we want that arch, can make these. Let's put an arch coming in here. All right. Because now maybe players can get up there, or we put a couple of these lower ones, make it a thing they could like climb to. Now they've got to sort of navigate, either they're going lower, or they're hopping up higher, or coming up here. There's some baddies you got to interact with. Different levels that you have to interact with are always super fun. And we could even do the same. Let's pull some of these out. The same gag that we were doing before with the suspended walkways, we can do that same thing here. So let's get a couple maybe what, some sidecars. So this is now, we're off by 1 floor height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some floors back down, top of the elevation box, floor, or something like that. It's up here. Indeed, I need a 2x1 here. All right, and then we'll put this back up here. Bump. Now we have a fun step up. Let's see how we work around that. Let's put this, open up that there. Put this in here, and then we can take these little guys. And now we have now we're getting up even higher. We have an interesting multi-tiered thing. We can put these over here. Boom. All right. Lots of fun, playable. We get some different height playable areas to cause trouble for your players. And once again, this stuff is really easy to you just kind of rough out a room and then start throwing the elevation blocks around until you have something that feels fun and dynamic and can make a cool challenge for your players. Let's look at one last technique, which will be raising up larger sections of rooms. Finally, let's use elevation to lift up big portions of the room. So we have another 12 by 12 room here. We've used our previous technique. We have a couple of elevation blocks in line with the grand vaulted arch here, with a couple of the small stairs and pedestals, making a nice, cool, like throne roomy sort of situation. But we want to let's get more grand, right? We want to go up, up, up. So what we're going to do is I've already preemptively built this on a 6x12 terrain tray, right? So this is on a 6x12 terrain tray. So the really fun, easy thing we can do is get a couple, some elevation pieces. Kind of anything that you have left over will work. So we'll put a couple of those here. They're the same height as our 38 millimeter stilts, so you could put those in. If you want, you can use elevation blocks, whatever you want. It doesn't take a ton on there, but so I'll put a couple of bits under, and then we drop our whole room section there, and boom, now we're all in line. Of course, we have to fix this arch, looks a little funny. So what I've done here is I put the elevation blocks down there. So one thing you could do if you wanted, what we can do? Let's start smaller. So we've got this, we're going to hold this, we're going to come back to this room for a second. Let's pull these out. We can just start with, what if we do 6 elevation blocks here? Let's pave some floors down over here, and we'll put our walls on each side. Now let's do a whole raised section. So if we want, we can take a whole section of walls, boom, and we can raise a whole section up like that. And so you don't even need to use walls. You can just put the elevation blocks right up against the floors, and boom, you have a cascading segment like this. And of course, you can then expand it out if you wanted to get more than that, or you could, like, let's say we wanted to do a couple more. I'm just going to take a bridge pedestal, throw it there. Let's get a couple of floors. Boom. 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 And then a couple of corners. All right, we can just sort of keep building from there, just putting stuff up and keep building. So this is great if you're doing like little raised sections. And then we should put some stairs there, right? Let's come on. And because we have the elevation blocks in there, we can put any floors we want. So we built those below and building on top. So let's put this in here. So now we can use this as a fun surprise, right? We put the spike trap there. So when they come up the stairs, boom, they hit the trap. So and you can basically, as many bits as you want, you put elevation blocks under each, go up and go. But it's not really efficient if you're trying to do a larger section. So in that case, we'd want to do what we were just doing before is we're going to take, all right, we have all this paved out. We're just going to put that there, and boom, we're taking the terrain tray, and a whole section room is up on the terrain tray. And you can go as high as you want, right? You can do multiple layers up. You can cascade up. You can go one terrain tray and then start building off that terrain tray to go up another level and the like. So it's very easy to lift a whole section of your build from there. The other sort of fun thing you can do while you're here, and if you want, you can, if it bothers you seeing the edge of the terrain tray or those vaulted pillars, wherever you can, put your corners back in. Like you can build inline, you can build your walls and floors back in if you want to cover that stuff up. You can do something like that, and then I'd put a little corner fill pillar in there or whatever. But you can cover up as much of that or leave it exposed. Or you could even leave it open and just tell your players there's nothing. I like to fill it in with something. But if you don't have a bunch of elevation blocks and you want to save some, you can just build regular walls here. Let's do that. Let's pop. Let's say we didn't have a whole bunch. We didn't have 6 elevation blocks to spare, so we didn't want to fill a whole bunch. So you'd only need. Let's leave these 2. They'll expose. Boom. That's covered. And now from here we're going to put a couple of these here. That's kind of neat. And then you'd see the elevation blocks. You can see through that. And then from there you can put some stairs down. We can do something like this. Boom. Fun bit like that. We can extend out. You can also build inline again. Like let's say we wanted to put the magic orb out there. So I'm going to put this elevation block inline with the floor. I need a couple of 2x1s. And then this gives me a chance to put this thing up here. Right now we have a bunch of elevated pieces of interest. In fact, at this point, most of the room is elevated. Although we could then extend out the rest of this room and have some lower level and go. And you can keep sort of cascading up from here. And you can go as high as you want. The other thing you could do is you could go up a full elevation, a full wall's height. So you could put, instead of elevation pieces, if you want, you can put just put walls and floors underneath there and go up. Cool. And then this lets you, if you want, you can sort of sneak over the tops of those walls before. It kind of messes with your squares a little bit, where you can drop back down to this height. And then this lets you, if you're trying to go, trying to line up with something like the ancient pillars or something, this is going to help you line up. And then once again, use your elevation, just keep going up from there. So the one other fun thing you could do from here would be building out, if you wanted to have like a section of negative space over here, like put an acid terrain tray or lava terrain tray or water or something out here, and then build out off to the side, right? So you've elevated a whole area, now you're working to the side. That would be a reason to kind of go up full elevation block or full wall height, so then you could have some walls on the other side that could cover the area, but do some negative space bits. But it's pretty easy to go from full wall height to elevation height just by changing whatever you have under your terrain tray. And then if you build out and you realize you want this bridge to line up better, you either add a floor under there or just drop, say, oh, we're going to drop this down one, just pull these back out, put some elevation under there. Boom, we get back down to a height that's going to line up really nicely for if you're trying to get your bridge to line up across from there. So that should give you all the basics for building with elevation. And that should get you started building with our dungeon elevation system. For more vertical terrain building ideas, check out our hands-on daises video and our Builders Masterclass on multi-level dungeon building. For other tips and tricks, check out our Dungeons playlist. If you like this video, give it a like and think about subscribing so you don't miss out on any of our other quality content. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspired you to up your game. And now, it's back to the anvil!